On this week's Prop Show, we have special guests Andrea, Bryan, and Sarah.
Welcome to the Prop Show.
Do you fit? Do you fit?
Run VT.
Guys, who the hell are you? Ladies first.
Ladies first.
We've met Bryan because Bryan.
I'm a
He's
returning
a return
guest.
guest.
Yeah.
Because this is the Prop Show. We run out of numbers, so we call it the 20-something show.
He's a returning guest.
Okay.
I go back because you, mate. That's all.
It's not because of him, is it?
No, of course it's not. No.
But yeah. No Matt today.
No, Matt. No.
No Matt is on holiday.
Oh, well,
Yeah, he's having a day off.
Have you just noticed he's missing?
Yeah.
Funny if I did
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it was half term about a month ago, because remember we're about a month behind on filming.
It's currently half term. He's got the day off.
It's on demand, so don't vote.
October half term.
October half term. It could be May.
So go on then, Andrea, who are you in one sentence, darling?
I am a content writer for the estate agency. I specialise in lifestyle content. As Chris would say, I'm the fluff in the content.
The softer side.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say the
creative
softer
side.
side.
Yeah.
But he said Andrew writes the fluff.
Yeah. Well, not fluff actually.
Well, we're going to talk about content later.
Yes.
Content.
But Andrea, very kindly the other day, at my behest, sent 101 blog ideas over to me because we're filming some new
101
fun
Dalmatians.
stuff. 101, no, 101.
There's more.
100,
No,
there was
101.
blog ideas and fantastic. So if there's any agents out there, I'm sure Andrew, you'll happily send them over.
Have you used them for the Cheshire Property Show?
I have, and I'm probably going
Maybe you
to
could drop it. Well, drop in a bit later, but a little.
Yeah, but later. But it's not about us. It's about Andrew.
Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah, it is. Yeah, go on.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. But anyway, if you'd like some, Andrew, would you happily send them out?
Happily send them out, yeah.
Fantastic.
You're not going on any automation. I don't believe in the automated thing. So if you want it, you email me and I send it you.
What's your email
strings
address, Andrea?
Andrea@citruscontent.com.
There we go. So if you want 101, awesome. I've read them through. They're fantastic. Blog ideas. That's the lighter side or the softer side, less stato.
Yeah.
Then please get in contact with Andrea. They are brilliant. So
Okay, next we've got Sarah Edmundson in the house.
Hello.
Okay, there you go. First millennial as well in the house.
you're not going to melt you.
I'm all right, actually. I've had some avocado, bit of poached
Fantastic.
egg, and I'm feeling ready for the task ahead.
And you are Bryan's much better half.
Absolutely. Other half of the business partnership. And yes, we are doing basically... Yeah,
The boss.
I'm the boss.
Yeah,
the
the
boss.
actual
Bryan
boss, the
was
real
my
boss.
boss now. I am the
Senior
boss.
management.
Fantastic.
Correct.
Fantastic. So you work in partnership. And what do you do?
So we train estate agents top and bottom of it to be even better at what they do.
Yeah,
that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, because you've worked in the industry previously.
Absolutely.
Where did you work for?
I was at Fine & Country and I was an independent as well.
Fantastic.
And then I was at the Guild. So
Yeah, with our friend Ian Mackenzie. Shalom.
Love it. It's a good friend of the
He's a
show.
big friend of the show.
He's actually meeting us, all being well, for post-video beers.
Happy days.
Yeah, all being well, if he can get back in time.
That's
Good
nice.
stuff.
That's nice.
And by no means least,
Bryan.
Right,
Should we do the...
yeah.
You need a
Nigel
car,
I
Mansell.
know, yeah.
Well, do you know what? I've got a DeLorean and a Batmobile for Alan the Batman. But I don't
Nigel
have.
Mansell's nephew.
What we need is a Williams, because he famously drove for Williams.
Okay.
We need a Williams Formula One car.
Probably won't go very far though.
No, but just as a prop.
yeah.
Just to have here.
What,
So
for when Bryan comes back for a third time?
Yeah.
Well, the invitation's
You're
always
welcome
there.
whenever.
There you go.
And as are you, Andy.
Thank you.
But yeah, so you work together, you work across the country.
Yep.
Obviously, we've
Well, he
had
bloody
you on
well
the show
invited
before.
himself on the show. Yeah, this is Chris. I need to come back on the show.
Yeah.
There you go.
Why not?
That's why not. So if there's anyone out there want to come on the show, then give us a shout, and if you're good enough, we'll get you on.
Well, speaking of which, if you would like to come on the show, let us know.
We're booked up until June.
Check us out.
Check us out.
Check us out.
There you go.
Because you're such a popular guy.
No, we just want to tell the world of a stage.
Fun
what's all
times.
about. Yeah, so should we get back to some real meaty stuff? The
Yeah.
meat between the sandwich.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, you going to put your hat on?
Should we ask the prop show?
Yeah.
Let's ask the prop show. So, you've had today,
Yes.
prior to
Yep.
the show.
Yep. Brian and Sarah.
And Andrea.
Yep.
But you've had some interesting questions in the big studio
Yes.
about.
Let's revisit them. There's some big
well,
stuff.
let's have
The controversial stuff.
Let's
get
do
that
some
out.
controversial stuff. So, women estate agents.
There's one,
Talk to me.
2 in the state.
I have a view
Yeah.
that you share, which is good. That I think, because, whilst I like to think I'm in charge, I'm not in charge, in my mariage, that I genuinely believe that women, if they're in relationships with men, they make a significant amount, if not all, in my case,
But if they're not in a relationship, they make all the decisions.
of the buying decision. Right? So I actually think that that women would respond really, really, really well to lady estate agents, because particularly if you're buying houses, because I wouldn't choose a house, my wife would choose a house, and I go, okay, darling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd have an input. But I mean, what is your feel?
Why aren't there
Why aren't there more?
Senior ladies in a estate
Yeah.
agency? There's plenty property managers. There's plenty negs, but valuers very rare. Managers even rarer, and bosses. My word, there's a few in lettings, but not in a estate agency. Why?
It's probably my biggest bugbear, to be honest, and
Yeah.
I would love to see a better representation of women in senior positions. But more importantly, and I feel strongly about this, is that there is still a question mark: is it women, or is it the attitude and the skills that often women seem to carry more? So the emotional intelligence,
Yes.
the less egotistical. Sorry, you guys.
Yes.
No, true. No,
Empathetic.
Little
actually
bit,
true. I believe
absolutely, a little bit more empathy, and that can go an awful long way in a sales environment.
Yes.
But because they're not necessarily natural closers,
Yeah.
they're not as forthright, they can be sometimes forgotten when it comes to taking senior sales roles, and I think that's
That's
something
true.
we've got to overcome.
Yes, that's a hell of an assumption to make, though.
It is.
They are forgotten about.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people, in all fairness, probably more than all of you in terms of agency.
Yes.
Some brilliant women.
Yeah.
They're not
yeah.
forgotten about.
I think.
So why have they not risen to more senior positions?
You'd have to ask them.
Do you not find that there is a bit of a sort of
Is it a choice?
taboo?
I happen to think, for what it's worth, that one of the things I'd encourage agents to do, whether
Yeah.
they're actually bosses, whether they're male or female,
Yeah.
is to have a more liberal approach to flexible working.
That
I
is
think
a
that
big
might
thing.
open up an enormous skill set of people.
Very
who
true.
just can't do 9 to 5, 7 days a week.
What do you think, Andrea?
Well, I think you have to be careful. I think, it's the right person for the right job,
Yes.
regardless of the sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what I've seen, for example, at the BBC, where they've done this massive gender push, is just alienated lots of people
Yeah.
because they've put women in, and not, I'm a woman, so I want to see women, but they've pushed them in. It's just like this big, rush, all the men out, all the women in.
Yeah.
To me, it's the right person for the right
Of
job. I don't
course.
care who
Yeah.
they are and
That's
what they
right.
are.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
right person for the
Do you
right
think
job.
there's a lot of let's be honest, there's certain TV programs where you have a token disabled person
Yeah.
or a token person who's black or a token Asian. Do you think there's a lot of tokenism in some industries where you just have to put a woman in there for woman's sake?
Well, that's bound to play a part in certain industries, isn't it? I've never seen it in this industry, and I've worked at some very senior levels, and I can speak from first-hand experience. At no stage has there ever been a conversation about we've got to get a guy in place or we've got to get a woman. It's always exactly what Andrew said. We need the right people
Right
that
person
fit
for the right
the
job.
culture first. The right culture will fit first.
So is the issue the culture that ladies don't want to progress up, or
Well, it can be kind of intimidating. I remember going to my very first big estate agent conference.
Yeah.
And I walked in and it was suits. And you could pick, I think the women in there, you could put on one hand And with me only being short as well, it is quite
I feel
intimidating.
your pain.
Yeah, really
Feel your
intimidating.
pain, man.
What did,
I
you
mean,
say what did you say about Sam Mitchell at the recent NEA conference?
Oh yeah, Sam Mitchell, how simple, put out a tweet on whatever day the conference was, pretty much saying that he was sat at the conference and there was a sea of white men with grey hair in front of him from his seat at the back of the conference. And look, I really agree with Andrea and what she's just said there. It really doesn't matter of what gender or persuasion or anything that you are. It's all about your attitude and skill. But I think the biggest thing with that is that, unfortunately, as a society, not state agency, as a society, sometimes we are still making generalizations and presumptions about a certain person's skill set because of their background or who they are.
Going back to what Brian said previously, which sort of follows on a bit from this, working condition and flexibility.
Yeah.
Now, this is something we've touched on previously. I don't think this is the fault necessarily of a state agency. I think this is inherent across society. But actually, do you think that if a state agency was more flexible, more dynamic in terms of hours with which people could work, less 9 to 5, unless we must do these viewings on a Saturday, we must do X, Y, Z, do you think it would attract not just more women, but more younger people into the industry? Do you think it would be more flexible? I genuinely feel that it would.
Well, I think society is demanding that anyway, because most people nowadays, I'm just thinking about the parents in the school of my son, the majority of them run their own businesses.
Yes.
They don't work 9 to 5.
No.
They work flexibly whenever they need to be. They're there for the kids. So they can't make most of 9 to 5. They're looking for appointments maybe in the evening.
Yes.
When I'm looking for a house, I was looking for a house a couple of months ago, and I wanted my son to come because he is basically all the estate agents wanted to hire him because he knew more about the property than they did, because he'd done his research at 9. He knew it all. So he would want to come to all the viewings, but it was difficult to get a time in after school hours for him to go to a viewing.
It's hard, isn't
So
it?
it was difficult. To me, that would seem wrong.
But going back to this, because we were saying previously that that Saturdays, particularly in weekend work and things, do you think that would be as much of a problem if, you said to, whether it be male, female, what age demographic makes no odds to me, but if you said to people, you work the hours that are convenient to you, so if you wanted, because often I'll work of an evening, so I've got youngish children, so sometimes I'll finish at 3 here, go and do the dadding, get them to bed 7ish, and I'll work from about 7:30, 8 o'clock to about 11. If other businesses were more that way, I guess, more self.
Just come back to this hub model we were talking about.
Well, I
think that would help?
Yeah, I think there's evidence right now, certainly from what we see all over the UK, and this is a danger and I suppose a warning to companies that are, shall we say, not prepared to look at the timing model, the working hours model, is that what will happen is that talent pool they are not able to access because they're inflexibility will actually go self-employed, or it will work in others in agency. And I'm sure it's the same applies for the sectors, but they will actually go and work. And you know what? I've worked with great part-time people, men and women, and I've always found that one thing about part-timers is that they, or flexible workers, is that the time that they're actually at work is completely utilised and spent on work.
Very productive.
There's no dead time.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
Incredibly productive
take
people.
the
And
piss
that's
out of,
what's going to happen outside in an associate or
a lot of
self-employed
agents take the
model.
piss out of Keller Williams because they want to employ part-time mums like they do in America, and the amount of agents that, well, that's not like us. But actually, I think they might have a point.
I think
totally agree.
I think they
100%.
could have a huge untapped resource of intelligent, driven, motivated, clearly people who can manage time,
Influential as well.
incredible, and
Setting up the school gate.
but also, like a woman, most women will buy. If you're married, your woman will buy a house, and I know that my wife would respond far better than some guy in a suit who thinks he's everything. He's got a flashy watch on, stupid pinstripe and too big a tie. If it was a lady saying, if it was a lady saying, isn't this fantastic? My little girl would really love this, because they assimilate and they feel like they're.
I think it's the point Andrew made. Ultimately, women or not, this is about people being more flexible because it's what consumers want.
Well, it's also what younger people want.
Have we employed valuers on their listing capability and not necessarily on their selling capability of actually selling the house? There you go. Let's move on to the next question.
Millennials and estate agency.
Ooh.
Happy days.
Oh, what? There you go. Yeah, so I'm a millennial.
Okay.
And what's the
It's
latest
all right.
part?
What
of
is the
being a
all right,
millennial?
by the way?
How old? How young?
I was about to say that. What
How
is the
young
age
do you have to be
gap
to
now?
be a millennial?
It's built in the 1980s.
Is it?
So I think
I'm an
about
ex.
34, 35.
I'm an exennial.
What's that?
It's the bridgey
You're a
gap.
bridge
before.
gap between
It's the bridgey gap.
Gen
So,
X and
so there's Generation X,
Right.
and then there's millennials, and then there's exennials. So I fall into that category. So
I'm all flipping
no,
British.
so so I was born pre-internet, but grew up.
You are like my
Can I just say,
Hello,
by the way, a big shout out. If Stuart, if you're watching from Alexander and Co in Dunstable, Gen X.
Yeah,
Please,
Jack.
Karen.
But yeah, so I guess you have to be maybe 30. Or
Okay, somewhere in their 20s up into their
20s
early
and
30s.
30s.
Can we just
Yeah.
agree with that?
yeah,
Right.
what are they looking for?
Why are they such a pain in the arse sometimes?
No, that's
So
not what.
fake.
That wasn't the question.
So offended by
Why are
every
baby
question.
women such a pain in the ass sometimes?
That wasn't the question.
Why are people sometimes
That
such a pain
wasn't
in
the
the ass?
question.
Okay, well, there's certain people in here that just, they won't even watch the bloody video. and be
Are they
offended by it.
attracted to this industry? And if so, if not, why not? And what could we do? Because actually, what will happen is, like your friend at the conference, the sea of grey-haired white men will eventually either retire or expire,
Yeah, and we'll
And-
turn into bloody purple bricks.
and you'll have no one to effectively. There's no succession planning there.
Yeah, well, it's like politics, isn't it?
Yeah.
The gap is becoming so wide
Yeah.
between how relatable certain people are in
Absolutely.
the industry and certain people aren't. And what's great is that there are some amazing people
Yes.
who are fit into maybe your exennial
Exennial
category,
categories, yeah.
that are really leading the way. Sam, who you were just talking about at the conference,
Yes.
being one of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Brian's now clearly joining the exennial group as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he's
Yeah,
just
moving in that. Yeah,
he's
yeah.
just relabeled himself and lost
yeah,
10
Yeah, but he
years.
hasn't got grey hair, so he must be quiet.
Yeah,
I haven't got any
yeah.
grey hair.
But there's some really great people coming through, and a lot of them are
Yeah.
leading some of the sort of prop tech ideas and revolution, as it were.
Yeah, because they could really, I mean, in real terms, they could really utilise a lot of that because they've grown up with that.
Yeah, I think that sometimes one of the things that we found is that in the rental space,
Yes.
certainly with some of the technology solutions in rental, there seems to be more opportunities for millennials because actually, I suppose another buzz phrase is generation rent, isn't it?
Yes, there is.
And
yeah.
it's that's where the relatable angle comes from. They rent, so they know how to rent. They know what what's needed from
Yeah.
tenants and landlords.
Okay, let's bring it back to estate agency bosses. What can they do to actually motivate these snowflakes?
Don't call them snowflakes.
Build a snowman.
I am one. Okay, so I have recruited many millennials, or whatever you call them, and Gen X's and baby boomers in my time.
Exennials?
Exennials, yeah, definitely.
Come on.
And basically, they apply the same rules they apply to everybody. Motivate your staff.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if that person's
Yeah.
30, 29,
Oh, so the issue's not with the
62.
millennial,
No.
it's with the boss.
That's not
Absolutely.
millennials.
And knowing
This
what
is-
they want.
Absolutely, but that's every boss, every industry. It's now bending this sort of archaic 9 to 5. You must be in by 8:45. You must leave at
Yeah,
5.
there's a part of
Bending that.
But what about this sense of entitlement of being offended by everything?
I don't think they
I don't
are.
think
I
that's
just
true.
think
I
what's
don't see
happening
that.
I
is
think that's
as the bridge is getting wider, perhaps people are not understanding each other enough. So a millennial doesn't necessarily understand their boss and their business motivations.
Yes.
But likewise, their boss doesn't necessarily understand what's motivating the millennial. If all they care about is leaving that office at 5 o'clock, then they need to be put into an appropriate role and their time managed efficiently.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're not going to be good during the hours they're
No,
there.
no.
So it's
And
all
it's-
about being bags and free
No,
food.
no.
It's about
no.
understanding, and I think
I know this, but it's good for the camera.
I know. It's all about supplying the feds to everybody, isn't it?
There you go.
at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, business owners have got a responsibility to try to understand millennials, and millennials have got a responsibility to try and understand the business world a bit more. And
Surely,
we have-
therefore, if we're watching Simon Sinek, he actually says that a lot of it is due to the fact that the way we were brought up, and we have a responsibility as employers
Yes.
to basically mop up the 8th place trophies and basically sort these guys out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get your point. I think it's more of a headline than reality, in fairness.
Okay.
Cool.
Andrea, anything you want to add to this?
No, I know. I'll leave the experts to that one.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of That's the Prop Show. So let's pop over to Edgware and find out what our man on the ground says. Cheers, Steve.
Steve says the market is good.
Thanks, Steve. So, Andrea,
Yes.
content marketing in a estate agency. You can keep out. You can keep out of it because it's not about you.
It can.
Put it down. It's not about you today.
Yeah, but we're kind of the yin and the yang of
You're-
the content marketing world, aren't we?
You could be.
We
You're
are.
basically double acts, little
We are.
and large, clearly. So says me. Says me. But
I'm glad you dressed up today, Chris.
we don't all want to be
It's an
grey-haired
example.
estate agents in suits, do we? So the. Jesus Christ. Look, I make cool film. I don't sell houses.
Anyway, so yes, back to Andrew's question.
Yeah, absolutely.
An hour
Right,
ago.
I'll get you in.
Yeah, come on.
Content
What's
marketing.
the catch-up?
Content
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 marketing.
marketing essentially. Why is it important? Why should people be doing it? And what do you think people get out of it?
Oh, lots of questions there.
Yeah.
Content marketing for a estate agency, I think people are very good at going on the shiny red ball of what we should do, where we should go. Everyone's doing this, everyone's doing that. And where they're missing is the basics. And the basics is about getting who they are as an estate agent and what makes them different. And they really have a problem about highlighting what their differences is. And you can chat to them and you'll say, what makes you unique? And they'll come out, and Chris will agree, they'll come out with the same exact phrase as everybody else.
Yeah, no one cares except you and your mum.
Yeah. But and they don't come out with actually what really in essence makes them different. And that is, and when the content comes out, that is from everything from your brochure to your website, from your emails, to your blog posts, right through to your social media. I mean, people confuse social media and content marketing. They're two different things.
Yes, yeah.
Your content is what you create, and your social is how you
It's
deliver
your
it.
delivery service. Yeah. So, I mean, what would you advise agencies to do? I mean, is it about differentiation? Is that crucial?
It is crucial because if you don't have I'm very big at talking about tone of voice, and if you don't have a tone of voice which is part of your whole brand, it's not just about your logo, about your branding colours, about
Language of your
it's
brand.
language. It's the words that you use, it's the language, and if you haven't got that right from the beginning, how can you expect a buyer or a seller to understand who you are as an agent?
Absolutely.
You can say all the buzzwords, but they mean absolutely nothing if you haven't got that voice right.
And what sort of tone do you help people set? Because obviously you work with agents cross country, like Chris does.
Yeah.
Completely different, which is why the yin and yang. You know, Chris
we are.
provides a lot of a lot of heavy stuff that that some people will find very engaging. And you provide stuff that others will find engaging.
Yeah, exactly.
The harder and could say the softer side.
Yeah.
What is it that you would encourage them to do? A mix of both?
It's whatever's right for their agency and their client base. If they don't know who their clients are, then they've got a huge problem.
Can I just say something
Yeah,
on this,
sure.
actually? One of the things that I think is a misconception of estate agents is they believe that the only thing the public want to know is about the house value.
Yes.
When actually what the public want to know is what to do to their house also to increase the value of that, which is down to styling, decor,
Exactly,
all
which
of
is
that
what we're
stuff.
talking
And that's
about.
something that is massively missed, I think, in
It's all
UK
about the emotional
estate
side,
agencies.
and I think it's a so emotive subject,
Yeah.
and what they lack completely throughout it is emotion. And if you
Yes.
can't put emotion in every single aspect, you're going to alienate
Absolutely.
your clients,
You
and
could-
that's
it's
what
your
I do.
biggest
I give you
purchase.
emotion.
It's your biggest purchase in life, isn't it? Your
exactly.
home, and home is an important word. It's not just bricks and mortar.
Property.
It's not property.
No, it's a feeling.
It's where you
Right.
where you sleep, where you rest, where you do the fun stuff with your kids. Where you have a row with your wife sometimes.
You're
it's,
talking about estate
it's all
agents,
this.
though, and content. And the problem that you're facing is that for literally since God was a boy, estate agents have been trained to go along to a house, give the vendor a price, and try to get it on the market. And anything that is blindingly obvious needs to be done, don't do it. Let's get it on, and we'll give you the feedback when the buyers come. So you don't delay the instruction. So the mind has been trained not to worry about the styling side and the decor side, just to get the thing on. When actually it's the other way around. The better something looks, the quicker it's going to sell, and the better price it's going to achieve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big
It's all
aspect.
about
that's missed.
education. It's about education about every single aspect. And I think estate agents stick in their jargon, in their blinkered worlds. And where I come from in it is from a buyer or vendor's point of view.
Yeah.
So even just using that word there, I've alienated half of the audience.
Yes.
Because they don't understand what a vendor is. If you go out and say, what's a vendor? They wouldn't have a clue.
No.
So it's about using
It's a
their
setup.
language
Yeah, you're so right.
and putting it into terms that they can understand, and not being derogatory in any sense, but you've got to make it basic because You're working in an industry that is kind of complex. There's so many rules, regulations, and you can't expect them to understand that or even bound to understand the whole idea of it. So breaking it down to bite-sized pieces that is put in a language that they can understand makes the agent look an authority and they know, and also looks like they care, and also can start building that trust, because at the moment we're bombarded people with so much stuff that we're kind of damaging that trust element in some ways. It's creating the right stuff.
That word is very, very, very important.
It is.
Because
Which, bombarded or trust?
trust.
Yeah.
That.
Trust.
So that word.
That word. Trust. Trust.
Mr. Twat, by the way.
Trust.
Can I add,
is super important.
can I add another
Push
word that's
cans.
hugely important
Yeah.
right now? Certainty. And I think what's amazing, we train this all the time.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
But these two prevent emotional
Yes.
and logical certainty
Yes.
to customers.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is the dream team right here.
Yeah.
But actually to make purchasers' decisions on both sides of the fence. And we train it all the time. You've got to provide both.
You do.
And your customer
You
will
do.
buy from you.
Absolutely.
So, dream team right
Absolutely.
now.
But trust is super important.
Sorry.
And as an agent, as an industry, that word isn't a word you hear associated with estate agents a lot.
But it's all about being everyone says these millennials, they follow influencers, but I think every age follow people.
They do.
People look up to people who are educational, interesting and educational.
Yes.
Yeah.
And really what we need to do with content marketing is not talk about yourself or your firm or your services, which is true.
Yeah.
It's talking about stuff
clients.
that home buyers, home sellers, landlords would be interested in, which isn't, we've all been to parties and someone talks about yourself all night. What do we think to those people?
Yeah, we say, if you imagine walking down the street and there's a bunch of people stood there and you stop them and they're having a conversation, you go, guess what, I won an award last week. They're going to go, yeah, anyway, ignore you. But if you stop and say, actually, do you want to know how to spend £100 and add £30,000 the value of your house? Yeah, cool, then actually, I would like to know about that. Tell me a bit more about that.
So I think the big test is this: if you stop doing it, would people miss it? And most estate agents' marketing is what we call marketing, which isn't content marketing. It's trying to provide competitive advantage marketing.
Business generation.
We're so much better than everyone else, and these are the reasons why.
Well, if you're going to
No one
interrupt
cares.
somebody with marketing, because you've got interruption of attraction and cause, if you're going to interrupt somebody, you better bloody well interrupt them with something worth interrupting them for.
That's interesting to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where content marketing comes in. It's content that's relevant and interesting to the recipient, not you.
Okay.
And no one cares about your agency.
So, going back to the initial question, what are your top 5 tips for agents for their content marketing?
Find out to really understand what makes them different in the marketplace and create their tone of voice for that. Make sure that's consistent across every
2.
single piece of content that they do.
So that's web, social,
Everything, that
anything
voice
printed,
has to be
email
visible.
footers.
everything,
Yeah,
consistent. So consistency.
Yeah, absolute consistency. They need to make sure it is, as Chris said, and as I said earlier, it has to be client focused.
Okay,
You cannot
client
make it all
focused.
about you.
Perfect.
You need to put emotion in there. Please do not
4,
forget feelings.
emotions
That has to
and
be in there.
feelings, yeah.
And make it interesting and fun. Goodness
them.
me. To
Make
them,
it
to
interesting
clients.
and fun to them.
Clients,
So, and that will in turn build rapport and trust in you as a brand, as an agency, and attract more people to you naturally.
Yeah,
Here's a huge
naturally.
tip for you. Look
Yeah.
at all your marketing, and if it says the word we and us,
Cross it out. Yeah, I said that to a client the other day. And
That's
I said,
great advice.
Yeah, if you've got we all over it,
Yeah.
then don't come and see me because I don't want
look at
anything
us,
to do
aren't we?
with
It's this
it.
big.
I don't want
Yeah.
no one
Look at
wants
our
anything with
market
we all over it.
No one
at
wants
all.
anything with we all
I was
over
about to say
it.
that. I was saying
Exactly.
myself, that's
Yeah.
a dad
Yeah.
joke,
Okay.
so I won't say that.
You do the same corner and do.
Don't have
It's
anything
the
with we
exennials in the corner.
Yeah.
And no one gives a
Exactly.
flying F about your market share right move graph.
Except you and your mum.
Except you and your mum.
Excellent
Oh, I
times.
can't wait for those to
Yeah.
get banned.
Speaking of Rightmove graphs,
Yes.
I'm not asking a question because it's not my place to do so. Ask a question about Rightmove.
Okay then. Are we just order takers for Rightmove? Are we Rightmove receptionists? Boom!
Brian's favourite topic.
I think no estate agent would say yes to that, but the reality is that many, not all, but many actually are relying too much on it, rushing to put property on. This comes back to your content. They're not thinking about the content of the property and how to create a compelling advert
Right.
as part of the marketing strategy, which I keep going on about, we keep going on about, and we will never stop because it's the right thing to do. And we tend to be, we are on instructions and the vendor is saying, or the seller, how quickly can you get me on Rightmove? this afternoon, tomorrow
Yeah.
morning.
Crap photo.
Crap photo, and we sort of put it on there. We bang out a bunch of emails to our database, and then we literally wait for the phone to ring
So,
and hope
what,
for some
hope?
viewings.
Spray and pray.
Spray and pray, post and pray, absolutely.
And can I say, as somebody who's been going through buying, that is the most frustrating thing in history. And I don't think agents realise